What's going on, Knicks fans? Welcome into New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. Give me a follow on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. I'm tweeting about the Knicks all day, every day. I bleed blue and orange. Give me a follow at @MarshallGreen_. We can chop it up about Knicks basketball over there as well. In today's show, we're going to touch on Julius Randle and him potentially forcing a trade from the New York Knicks in a James Harden type of way. That was according to Mark Berman. But also Donovan Mitchell and everything that's going on in Utah. They blew a 25-point lead against the Los Angeles Clippers the other night. And this is what D. Mitch had to say in his post-game press conference. He was very emotional, and he said this after they blew a double-digit lead yet again. He said, "I don't know. It's the same thing. I don't know. It feels the same way. It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing." And he's talking about the ways that the Utah Jazz continue to lose games. They have been notorious this year for blowing double-digit leads in the second half, and something that started back in the playoffs last year against the Los Angeles Clippers. They blew double-digit leads in multiple games in that series, and that's just kind of the way the Jazz have fallen into losing games. Right now, they're 6th in the West. They started off the season extremely hot, but since the All-Star break, they've been in a free fall type of mode. If you want Donovan Mitchell a part of the New York Knicks next year, if they got to make a trade or whatever, you should be rooting against the Jazz. But an NBA source connected to the NBA, he said this about Donovan Mitchell. "It's well known across the NBA landscape that Mitchell wants out of Utah and to play in New York for the New York Knicks." And that's just music to my ears. How long have the Knicks been star hunting for their next NBA superstar? Since Carmelo Anthony, and that only worked out for a couple of years. They did get second in the Eastern Conference. He received some MVP votes that season, but it's time to get a mega star in the mecca of basketball wearing the blue and orange. And if the Knicks try to make a trade for Donovan Mitchell, it would look something like this, in my opinion. And I don't know, honestly, if this is even enough. You'd be giving up Julius Randle. That's kind of the player that would match the salary for Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell makes about $28 million. Julius Randle right now makes 21, but that will go up where the extension that he signed 4 years for $120 million will kick in. Then you got to add a young guy like Cam Reddish, Quentin Grimes, and 2 first-round picks. And I don't even know if exactly that would be enough. Maybe you'd have to add another guy like Emmanuel Quickley or Obi Toppin or somebody else or another first-round pick. But I want you to get in the comment section and let me know. Would you do this trade? Let me know. Type A for accept, or you can go down in the comments and type D for decline. If a trade happens for Donovan Mitchell, we may be going live on this channel. So hit that big red button and turn on your notifications. We are just around the corner from the NBA offseason, and stuff is going to be happening at random times, and you're never going to want to miss a video. So hit that big red button. Help us get to 5.5 thousand subscribers and turn on your noties so you never miss a thing when it comes to New York Knicks news and rumors. I think it's pretty obvious. Anyone that has been paying attention, Donovan Mitchell wants out of Utah. The outburst kind of started last year following that Los Angeles Clippers series. He doesn't really get along all that well with Rudy Gobert. They just kind of put up with one another, and that's what you do because you're a good teammate. And now this latest outburst after the Clippers game. We, Knicks fans, should be rooting for a Utah Jazz collapse. Honestly, I want to see him get swept in the first round of the playoffs. Or maybe they lose every other game the rest of the way. They have about 6 games left, and they'd be in the NBA play-in tournament. And if they lost in that tournament, then maybe he would force his way out. This is what Donovan Mitchell said back in 2020 when he played at Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. He said, "As a kid, always coming in here watching games. So for me, to be on the court is pretty special. It is always fun to be out here and play in front of my hometown. At the end of the day, I'm playing in front of my family. If the Jazz," and then Rick Bucher, he added this a couple of weeks ago. "If the Jazz appear to be feeling pressure to redeem themselves for last year's second-round playoff exit after posting the league's best record, NBA executives say it's in part because the future star Donovan Mitchell in Utah depends on it. The insistent buzz around the league is that there are those in Mitchell's circle who believe he is too big of a star for Salt Lake City. Further, some say it's only a matter of time before he joins former CAA agent and current New York Knicks president Leon Rose." He also said this, Rick Bucher, when talking to an Eastern Conference scout. "They are a first-round exit from Donovan being in New York next season. I would be doing jumping jacks, setting off fireworks in the office if Donovan Mitchell got traded to the New York Knicks, and we should be rooting for a Utah collapse, because if that happens, more than likely than not, he's going to force his way out of Utah. They have to do whatever it takes to get Donovan Mitchell. If it takes 3 first-round picks, Obi Toppin, and Quentin Grimes and Cam Reddish, I'm sorry, but those players may never be as good as Donovan Mitchell, and it's time for the Knicks to pull a trigger on a trade for a superstar, because how many times have we struck out in NBA free agency, going after big game hunting, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, so on and so forth? It has not worked. But I want to speak it into existence right now on this channel. Like this video if you want the Jazz to lose in round 1 of the playoffs. The more likes we get, it's probably more likely that they're going to lose in round 1. So if you want them to lose in round 1, go down and like this video. Now on to our own problems that we have in New York, and that's Julius Randle. Julius. What do I got to say about you? Let's break down everything that's happened the past couple of weeks. He stormed off the court like a baby after the Knicks beat the Bulls the other night. He flung the ball across the whole court and then powdered his way to the locker room, didn't dap up any teammates, didn't dap up any opposing players, walked to the locker room while the rest of his teammates were celebrating on the court because it was a big win for the Knicks. They beat a playoff team in the Chicago Bulls. And then a couple weeks ago, Kenny Payne, his longtime, I would say best friend on the Knicks staff, he was there at Kentucky when Julius Randle was there. They formed a really solid relationship, and he was an assistant for the New York Knicks. Kenny Payne got a lot of credit for Julius's outbreak and breakout season last year. But now Kenny Payne is gone, and he is the head coach at Louisville. So he doesn't have that connection and familiarity there anymore. And what can go wrong has gone wrong this season for Julius Randle. New York Post Sports, they put this out the other day. Mark Berman put out an article, and he said Julius Randle could be forcing his way off the Knicks in a James Harden type of trade. And that's music to my ears, because it is time for the marriage to break up. The Knicks and Julius Randle, it's time to move on, because look at everything that has happened this year. I could only fit 10 things on the screen. If we had more, screen space, you could put more stuff. But then the thumbs down incident, everybody remembers that, and that was just a bad sore eye for Julius, and it just turned all Knicks fans against him. And then the Rudy Gobert incident, where they almost got in a fight after the game because Gobert got under Julius Randle's skin. And the same thing with Cam Johnson, which led to a Cam Johnson buzzer beater 3, where Julius Randle was having a great game, but he got into it with Cam, and then Cam ended him in a bank shot 3 to win the game. Julius, he has a career-high 12 technicals this year. I wonder why. He's also been texting in press conferences after the game where the media has been asking him questions. He also slapped the laptop out of an assistant coach's hands when he was showing him film of a game where Julius was struggling and could have done better. He also has a career-high $163,000 in fines this year, and there's rumors out there that the Knicks have been paying his fines. He's also not been speaking to the media, and the Knicks have been holding it out because he didn't want to get fined anymore. And then the lineup announcements. On road games the past couple of months, Julius hasn't been participating. He's just been hanging back in the locker room, getting ready and loose for the game. And in this most recent report, which I honestly think is the most damning, he gets dressed by himself in the locker room away from everybody else on this team. This guy is a cancer. He doesn't get along with anyone. And it is just time for the New York Knicks to cut the cord and send Julius Randle packing. But I want you to weigh in. Do you think they should keep him or trade him? I'm spamming T in the comments section because it is time to move on from Julius Randle. But you be the GM. Decide. Let's embrace debate in the comments section. Type T for trade, or you can go down and type K for keep. One thing you're going to want to do is sign up at BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/bet, our proud sportsbook partner of today's show. When you go to chatsports.com/bet and plug in the promo code chat125, deposit $100, they will match that with a 125% deposit bonus. So you'll have 225 big ones in your account to bet with. You can bet on the Final Four. The MLB is right around the corner. Maybe you want to bet on the NBA playoffs. You can do it all at BetUS. Shout out to them. Best sportsbook in the game. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code chat125. I think the most damning thing about Julius Randle is he's turned his biggest fans into his biggest haters. Last year, I was singing the praises of Julius Randle. I thought he was an MVP candidate, and he played like that. He had his best season of his NBA career. Tom Thibodeau was his biggest supporter. How many times have we heard it? Oh, Julius Randle, he's the engine of this team. He goes like we go. Julius Randle has put his biggest fans into his biggest haters. I think this is what Tom Thibodeau said the other day following the game was extremely damning and kind of just sums up everything about Julius Randle. He wasn't talking about Randle directly, but if you got a brain, I think you know he was. He said this: no one's going to play well every game, but you can help a team with hustle, rebounding, taking a charge, chasing a ball down, setting a great screen, recognizing Alec Burks is going good. I'm going to drive and search out for him and find him. If you can't play, I still want you to give us what you can give us. Be on the bench, into the game, encourage your teammates, talk to the young guys, talk about things you see. And Julius Randle has done none of that. And this coming from Tom Thibodeau, someone that was Julius Randle's biggest fan, his biggest supporter. Thibodeau hitched his wagon to Julius Randle this past year, and he continued to sing the praises of Randle even when he was struggling this year. So for Tibbs to kind of indirectly go off on Julius Randle like that to the media, I think that's pretty telling. When you look at what Julius Randle was last year, one of the best players in the NBA, second team All-NBA, averaged 24 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, shot above 45% from the field, and 41% from three. This year, he's shooting 30% from three, 11 percentage points lower. His field goal percentage is down. But his raw numbers, if you just are a box score watcher, you're like 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Julius Randle is balling. But it's all the extra stuff. The lack of effort, the lack of defensive intensity, the lack of just chasing ball downs and being a teammate. It has just not worked out for Julius Randle. It is time for the Knicks and Randle to part ways. I appreciate you watching today's show. If you enjoyed it and you made it this far in the video, you're a real one, so go and give us a like and give me a follow on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. The first 10 people, I'll give you a follow back. Just send me a DM letting me know you came from this video.